Hello, happy Wednesday. Please ignore my fingernails and my hands. I have been working construction projects all weekend and they're a bit destroyed. And there was no point in painting my nails because I was just going to scrape it off doing stuff. So I wanted to do this really quick. I received a gift in the mail from a friend of mine. We transfer things back and forth all the time. And she sent me this silk lace weight yarn to do some natural dye projects with that she picked up. So I'm going to dye it. She gave me full free reign to dye it however I want. And then I'm going to send it back to her. And because I don't knit or anything yet, but I want to start. For my birthday back in March, my best friend, got me this amazing wild color book. It's supposed to be like one of the best recommended sources for natural dyeing. So I thought maybe let's do something with this. And with this. And today, while my mom was cleaning out her horse paddock, she found all the nettles are starting to grow in, and these are all young and soft leaves. They're a little wilted. They were out in the sun when we were finishing up our construction project. I need to go wash them. They've still got roots and dirt and all that attached. But they're a good vibrant green. So when I looked into this book, I've tabbed all the pages that we're going to go through. Nettles are here in the back, on this side. And we get all these different types of things that we can get. So we're probably around the early summer growth. So what I'm hoping to get is this nice sagey one here. Which means I need to use, based on that black, the black one means I need to mordant, it's one of those words, the silk first, and then this hatched one is that I need to use an iron bath in it afterward. So I'm going to go through the whole process, and I thought I'd make a really fun video. It's going to take me a few days, so hopefully I can get it all put together in time for Wednesday. If not, then I'll have something else fun, and this will be in 2 weeks. I'm just going to flip back to the beginning here and double check that I was right on what those symbols mean. Actually, I don't need to mordant before dyeing to get that green that I want. I just need to dye color on fibers and iron modifier after dyeing. So it gives me a few days to make my iron modifier. So we're going to not mordant this one actually, because let's go back to Nettle and see what it looks like. So this is the green that I'm going for here. This nice like light minty sagey green. So if I mordant first, I'm going to get a more intense, a more saturated color. And I'm hoping for this less saturated one. So we're actually not going to mordant it, which means this will take me a lot less time to get this done. So let's get to it. I'm going to go wash these, and I have to pre-soak this. So let's get into it. Okay, so I've rinsed these, and I went and picked a whole bunch more. There we go. I want the tops. So what you want to do is apparently chop them, not fine, but chop them, and then add them to your bowl or your pot or whatever, and then you pour boiling water over them. So I'm going to go chop these and add them to my pot, and then I'll pour some boiling water over them, and I'll come back and explain the next bit. And I'm going to do something with my gloves. Okay, so I have poured boiling water into here over the top of these. I've packed it really full, and then just put enough water to cover them of boiling water, and I'm going to let them sit for 2 to 3 days as per the instructions, and then I'll simmer them off afterward. Alright, quick Google. So to make an iron modifier, you add 2 parts water to 1 part vinegar to the jar. I've got this jar. Enough to cover the iron objects. I'm going to go get a bunch of rusty nails. Put the lid on the jar and seal it tight. It takes 1 to 2 weeks. So I might not have it in time. We'll find out. Okay, so it has been a couple of weeks now. This is our iron modifier. It's supposed to be orange. I'm assuming it's because my nails were actually kind of dirty. We're gonna find out if this works. I'm wondering, there is a little bit of orange if the light hits it right. So there's also like lots of flakes of metal, so I'm gonna strain this through some cheesecloth before we use it. Here is our dye bath. It is a very dark green, and it smelled pretty bad at first. The smell seems to have like worn off a bit, so that's good. I think I may have simmered the nettles for too long, and they just smelled like rotten sulfur. It was so bad. Learned something there. I have consulted our guide, and it's a little confusing about the iron modifier. It doesn't tend to explain which method you should use for the nettles. So I'm going to try it where you soak your fabric in your dye, and then after it's done soaking, you add a couple teaspoons of the iron modifier to a pot of water, and you take your dyed fabric and you boil it, or simmer it. Sorry, not boil it, you simmer it for a little while. Exact numbers to follow because I forgot. And then you rinse it out and you try it from there. So instead of wasting my really lovely yarn that my friend sent me to do this on, I picked up some cheap cotton bandanas. They are 100% cotton, but the frustrating thing is you can see the stains here this is from a rusty staple that was in here. They had stapled the fabric to the cardboard, and had then the staple got rusty, and I'm like, it's kind of frustrating, but I figure we're going to use an iron modifier, so we're going to use a rust modifier anyway, so maybe those will just be like some really pretty cool speckles in it. So I have washed these just on a hot cycle with regular laundry detergent. They're supposed to be pre-shrunk, but that way they're shrunk down. And what I'm going to do, if this all works out, is these will make really cool kind of sagey army green altar cloths. And then I can practice with my, where are you friends? Paint pens that I got specifically for working on altar cloths. And if these all turn out, then I'll do a little giveaway with these. And then I'll know how the dye works best for my silk fabric. Obviously the silk will dye a little bit differently than the cotton, but this will give me an idea of whether or not I'm going to ruin it. And it'll give me a cool test. So I'm also, before I do these, while I do these, I'm also going to do a couple of scraps of fabric. I'm working on building up like a dye reference books for myself, even though I think I've lost my ones from my black beans, but I saved the dye. I saved the leftover and concentrated it down so I can do it again. But I need to take better notes and get myself a little notebook specifically for this. So let's do the doing. Okay, so double check the book. These would simmer for 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to write that down. For now, we are going to stick these guys straight into dye bath. The nettle one, it recommends doing cold. So we're going to do a cold one. I'm going to grab a pair of gloves just so I don't stain my hands. Also, the book recommends that whenever you're dealing with the iron modifier, you use gloves because it's toxic. So I'm dropping gloves everywhere here. Since we're going to dye these anyway, I'm just going to use them to wipe up the spill. And there's hardly any color that shows up, so let's hopefully... It's so cold because it's been in the fridge. I'm trying not to make it sinky. That is a really cool green. Oh, there's like, ooh, hey, look at that. There's like stuff that has settled to the bottom. I filtered it through cheesecloth, but you know, cheesecloth always isn't the finest thing. So in goes the second one. Ooh, cold, cold, cold on my fingers. Okay. And gloves off. I should have put some like wax paper down before I started doing this, but my desk already needs to be cleaned up anyway. There. And that guy's sealed. So I don't know how long we're gonna leave them in. I like to use my cheesecloth to like wipe things up. Plus I'm gonna go pour the iron water through it anyway and take these gloves inside. Right, so I guess that's the next thing, is straining iron water. Okay, so I have consulted our dye guide, this guy here, and there are a couple different ways that it says you can use the iron modifier. We're going to start with the one without heat, where you add it to the dye bath and stir it well, and then you put in the wetted fibers, and it says to simmer them, but it can also be applied without heat, and then rinse and wash the fibers. So I'm going to start, I think, with just the dye bath and add some of the iron modifier. The thing is, this book it's really cool and it's really useful, but it's very loose with instructions, and maybe that's just because dyeing with natural dyes is just a trial and error type thing. There's some measurements that it gives specifically, such as alum mordants and cream of tartar modifiers have a very specific weight to measure volume, and but other things don't. So partially because I made my iron modifier, which actually is kind of turning green, because I made it, it doesn't have a specific measurement because the concentration could be all over. So what I'm going to start with, I think, is I've got this pot that I bought secondhand. It's got a copper bottom, so it's like solid metal. Bought it for $4, and this I only use for like craft projects. If you use an iron modifier, you really don't want to use it on something that you're going to eat later, eat out of later. So what I bought this for is for heating water, for doing wax melts and things like that. So it's only a craft pot. It never gets used for food. You use iron modifier. This is what it looks like. So I ended up not straining it the other night. I realized probably the reason that it has gone so orange is that the fabric in here has just absorbed all of the green pigment available, and we're left with the remaining pigment, or the remaining tannins, which can take a longer time to stain. So I want to start by, I'm going to take these out of here, I'm going to rinse them, and we're going to look at the color, and then we'll try adding it just directly to here without heat, and then if that doesn't give us anything within 10 minutes, it should change color rapidly apparently. If it doesn't start to change, we'll add some heat and we'll simmer it for 5 minutes, and we'll see if it changes color. If it doesn't, we'll go up to 15 minutes because other parts of the book recommend 15 to 20 for iron modifiers. So we're just going to start with the simplest and work our way up until we get a color that we want. Okay, so I've opened the container and there is a definite like earthy smell. I've got a glove on simply because I've got a band-aid on my hand. So I'm going to wring these out and set them aside. I don't want to waste the dye as best I can. I really just wish I could use my left hand with these things. It smells like plant in here. And also a little bit of sulfur, but that's probably from the water. Our well water has a decent sulfur content to it. So we've got kind of like a yellowy brown color out of this, so I think I'm going to have to try it again, but I want to see what this color turns with the iron. See what the iron water does to it. So set this over here, and it says to give the fibers a rinse. Okay, so I just wanted to lay down some parchment paper in case it spills like it already has, so that I don't stain my parents' counters. Cheese from their dinner last night? Jesus. excuse the mess. These counters are hard to tell when they're clean because the lighting in here is really warm. So some of these colors are going to look different. So this is really interesting. This is like the lid for my Mordant thing. Iron Modifier. Get the butter out of the way. You don't need to see our butter. So I'm going to take a few spoonfuls of this and add it into there. I'm actually just going to kind of pour because we're going to wash the fabric later. It doesn't really matter if there's particles. So I'm going to add about that much. That's probably about 2 tablespoons. We have these plastic stuff from my parents' lunches. I'm just going to stir it with these. So I'm going to add the fabric back in. I'm going to add a little bit more. Just kind of see what happens. Because you know what? This is a test. Oh, look at that on the, can you see? Oh, look at how black that's gone. That's crazy. Okay, so we're going to add these guys in, fully submerge them, and this is where you do really want to wear gloves because the iron in here is like, you don't want to get it on your skin. Wow, look at how those colors are changing already. So we're going to soak them, and I'm just going to like push them down into it. It says to stir it, but I don't really have enough room to stir. So I'm just gonna like push and submerge and turn them with my hands, trying to not splash because this is so dark. If it didn't stink so bad, I would probably use this as an ink, but I'm gonna have to definitely remake it because this one, I think I boiled it too long and it just got smelly. Oh my god, look at, I am so like, holy shit. Look at that. That is such a lovely black. Get my shadow out of the way. Jesus. These are, oh my god, I'm very excited about these already. Okay, so I'm I'm impressed. I'm a little shocked at how rapidly this is changing. I'm just gonna like try and make sure that we get all of the fabric as evenly as possible. So I don't think we need to add heat. If we add heat, I'm worried we're going to change the color of the nettle dye itself because adding heat to plant-based materials can change the color. And I am really happy with this gray, so there's no way that I am going to like be changing the color. So we're going to just kind of let this keep sitting. I'm going to keep turning them for another couple of minutes, and then I'll pull them out and I'll pull them out and I'll wash them, and I'll let you guys see what they look like. Look at that. Like, it's gone like a steel. I'm in love. Grays are some of my favorite colors, like grays and bright blues, and lately I've been on like a peachy pink thing, which is weird. Very not me, but I'm like, I don't know. Look at this color. Oh my god. I'm just so in love. I can't wait to try the Iron Modifier again for other things. And like let things sit longer. Oh jeez. So the problem with having tiny hands is that I tend to like, gloves don't fit right and that causes like splashing. Look at how black that went. I maybe added too much, but you know what? I am so happy with the result. I'm being investigated. So I wanted to see if I brought this outside, if you could see the color of it. It's hard to tell still. It's kind of a stone gray with some green splotches. Bye. And I wanted to use it for like a giveaway, but the problem is that black spot there, there's a bunch of them. They're nail holes that were rusted from the staples that were holding this together. So let's see if we can spread it on the nettles without stinging myself. That gives you kind of an idea of the color there. So I mean, the color is not horrible, but I wouldn't feel comfortable giving it to somebody, not knowing, like, look at the vibrancy of these nettles. I wouldn't really want to. It's not what I wanted. So, takeaways are: weigh your materials and plan ahead, read ahead what you need to do before you start. We'll try this again and see what it does. So here's what it looks like inside. So, not a result I'm happy with, but you know, you win some, you lose some. So yeah, thanks for checking it out, and hopefully I'll have a better result for next week's video. Thanks for watching,